Beep, 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 beep. All that's new from the jester. Hello. Right, okay. Good morning. Good morning. What we got today? Oh, the BBC. This is glorious. Right. The Telegraph and the wonderful Ewan, who works for the Telegraph. Not as Woodward and Bernstein as I like, but he's a good man, right? The wonderful Ewan, who works for the Telegraph, has given us an article in the last couple of days. All the links are in the Dubras as usual. Buy me a coffee, become a warrior teacher, the usual, right? Okay. But this is something to savour. Okay, it's something to savour. And yeah, let's have a look and see, shall we? Right. So BBC staff apparently are in revolt. The staff are revolting, are in revolt over trans network that polices content. Wow. Now, my little mole that I've got in the BBC has sent me some of their stuff. You want to see the training, even after Stonewall, because they jumped out of the Stonewall pan, didn't they, and into the fire, if you remember, with another group of lunatics. I'll try and find that article, actually, and reprint it on the Substack. If I manage to do it, you'll see it tomorrow. You'll see it now in the link in the Dubras, right? But let's have a look and see what Ewan's got to say. Now, the Director General of the BBC is Tim Davie, as we know. Apparently, he's facing revolt, as he is accused of letting the Transgender Pride Network police the BBC. Well, you would think that was beyond happening. I mean, the BBC are supposed to be impartial. They're not supposed to be doing anything like that. Gosh, could you think that setting up affinity groups might be a bad idea? So, what happened? Some employees have told Mr. Davie to shut down the networks after one group's co-chairman complained he wanted more influence over stories. These people are authoritarian and totalitarian. I've said it a dozen times, but to see it in print. Here we go. Some employees said shut down these affinity groups, which is what every company should do. There should be no affinity groups. Insiders have accused Mr. Davie of incredible naivety. I read that first as incredible nativity. I thought he'd done something fabulous at Christmas. Right, incredible naivety, okay? For giving powers to the BBC Pride and BBC Studios Pride networks. We're paying for this. What the... going on, right? Okay. The Daily Telegraph understands that staff have raised concerns directly to his office. That's interesting. So they haven't gone to their boss. They haven't gone to their boss's boss. They've gone straight to the top. We're done. There's something happening. See, people are finding their voice, and good for them speaking up. It's going to be a long fight, but we'll get there. So, yeah, good for you. Good for you, BBC staff. So the latest trans row at the broadcaster began with a testy exchange. That's wonderful. A testy exchange. Because he can't put, with a bloody row. A testy exchange between, here we go, Nathan Wren, co-chair of BBC Studios Pride, and good old Twister Films, Malcolm Clark. Malcolm, you rouser of rabble. How wonderful. Malcolm Clark. Who's a science producer at the World Congress of Science and Factual Producers. This is when it happened last month at that particular get-together. Malcolm's a renowned documentarian. Mr. Clark, Malcolm, claims he complained that the group policed BBC output and stifled debate, prompting Mr. Wren to reply, this is the guy that runs this Pride network, we only intervene when, say, a trans subject is being covered, and then we'll press to ensure trans voices are being heard. Well, Mr. Wren, I'd like you to define what trans is, please. Mr. Wren. Define it, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything. Mr. Clark said when he pointed out that even unions would not wish to have such editorial influence. Mr. Wren replied, we often ask for changes, and they don't happen. Wow. Wow, he didn't say we don't interfere. He justified his interference. Wow, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Stupid man. Some staff are calling for a crackdown on the groups, saying they are homophobic. They are homophobic. It's trans. By nature it's homophobic. It's built in. It's a homophobic movement. Queer and trans, it's all homophobic, right? Sorry, I'll start again. Some staff are calling for a crackdown on the group, saying they are homophobic for promoting self-identified genders, thus undermining same-sex attracted people. Undermining's a very mild word there, young Ewan. That completely destroys it. Doesn't undermine it, completely destroys it. Many staff, quote, are fed up with the way BBC Pride's influence undermines the BBC's reputation for impartiality. You ain't kidding. One insider told the Telegraph, Tim Davie needs to shut it down now before its influence undermines the BBC further. The influence of the networks has been partly blamed on the BBC's ties with Stonewall. Now, they legged it from Stonewall a while back. The contentious LGBT charity, they're not a charity, they're a lobby group. They're a lobby group who happen to be a charity. We've seen Nancy Kelly tweeting over the last couple of days, the woman's deranged. Actually glad that people had dysphoria. What the hell's wrong with her? In a 2018 report on LGBT culture and progression, the BBC praised Stonewall while recommending that BBC Pride be strengthened. That was 2018. By golly, there's been an enormous amount of water under the old bridge since then. That's 35 years ago now. Oh dear. This is the kind of, bitten on the bum stuff that we're going to see lots more of, I think. In June 2021, leaked minutes of BBC Pride's board showed it was demanding to attend commissioning meetings. They want to get in, same as they've done with UKRI and STEM, right? What they've done with STEM funding in the UK. They want to do it internally with the BBC. You see, the template never changes. They want to get there at the point of commissioning so they can stop it from ever happening. Totalitarianism, right? They showed it was demanding to attend commissioning meetings and play a role in editorial processes. Can you see what it is yet, kids? I keep doing that. Apparently that was said on Radio 4's Today programme. The BBC later quit Stonewall Diversity and Trade, but I mentioned earlier, they jumped in with some other bunch of nutters. I'll find that if I can. Following the latest BBC Studios Pride comments, a BBC insider said senior management have been incredibly naive, while another source described the network's power as intimidating. Isn't it strange how wherever you go it repeats? Intimidation, lies. Yeah. Playing the victim. Pretending you're not doing what you are doing. These TQ nutters need to go from everywhere. Every company needs to shut down all the things they're doing, along with, I'm sorry to say, every other affinity group. There shouldn't be one. Shouldn't be affinity groups. Following the latest BBC Studio Pride comments, the BBC insider said, oh, sorry, I've said that. A BBC spokesman said, that's the bit I should have gone to, a BBC spokesman said, BBC Pride is a volunteer-led staff network. It is not an editorial team and has no role in directing editorial content. That's what's known as a non-denial denial. I think it is. I think that's what they call it. So they've not actually denied it, right? But they made it sound like a denial. That's not saying that they don't want influence. It's just saying that they're not set up to do so. Doesn't mean they don't want it. Get rid of them. Whatever your organisation, it doesn't matter whether you're a BBC Studios, whether you're the NHS, whether you're the government, whether you're a bank or whatever it is you are, shut them down and do it as soon as possible. Because they're going to hurt you. It's coming. It's coming. Oh, it's coming. Now, what's interesting is when I spoke to my mole, they said they're terrified to speak. It's not just them. It's across the BBC. I've had the same reports from the NHS. People are frightened to speak, terrified. They're frightened to speak to their union in the NHS, which is even worse. So the NHS unions are culpable in this. Which is a shame, because I know people that work for the unions and they're good folk, It's a shame. So I don't know what they're doing, whether they're sitting on their hands like everybody else does, because most people just sit on their hands with this, don't they? It'll go away if I don't look. It's not going to go away, folks. Come on, get off the bench, open your mouth, say something. Make a start. Say no to pronouns. I keep saying this, but we need to do this stuff. It's that time of year now. The beginning of the year, we can start fresh. So, delicious. The BBC are having a bit of an internal battle. And I hope that the end of this internal battle will be that they will get rid of any ridiculous training company they've got in that is a TQ-obsessed training company, gender and critical social justice. Get rid of a lot of it. But it's good news to see that this is now being aired, and I hope that the BBC will take it very seriously. He certainly should do when people are going straight to him and saying, listen, you've got a problem. Wherever they go, wherever you end up with these people, these mad CSJ, critical nutters, they will become totalitarian, they will become a thorn in the side of everybody. They are the thieves of time. They are there simply to cost you money. They will pay you you're paying them to cause you problems. Close your affinity groups down, whatever your business is. Anyway, Right, it's another delicious piece of news. We had Kemi doing the thing. And then today we've got the BBC in a bit of a furore. Who knows what else this week will bring, as we are now in the full swing of 2023. It's good to talk to you. Have fun.